If you can all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you can remain standing, we have our chaplain, Doug Hart, giving us our invocation.
Let's pray. Father God, we come before you this evening, Lord, and realize the privileged place that you've put us, God. That, Father, we might come boldly before your throne of grace, Lord, and find help in our time of need. And, Father, we do so understanding very clearly, God, that our ways aren't always your ways. That, God, your ways are higher than ours, Lord, that the plans that we have aren't always the ones that you desire. So, Lord, we pray that by your grace, Lord, we would be able to seek you, Lord, and desire your ways over ours. God, that we would see your plans winning out in our city and in our hearts, God. Father, understanding your great love for us, Lord, and knowing your desire to bring us peace and life. So, Lord, we pray for those who will be speaking today, for our council members as well. God, that you would give them humility and wisdom, God, and hearts that are after yours. That we might have a city, Lord, that is prosperous and peaceful, Lord, because we understand that that's your desire for us. God, that this is possible because you have desired to give us everything that pertains to life and godliness through your divine power, and that's been accomplished through Christ. So, Father, bless this time, Lord. Watch over this meeting. Have your way amongst us, we ask, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mayor Pro Tem Martinez, you're going to go first. A presentation on Purple Heart Day, followed by Councilor Benavides. Councilman Benavides, you want to go next? They seem to have left the building. All right, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Let's get Juan.
He was eating.
Yes.
Sorry, Juan. Let's get started. The sooner we get started, the sooner we finish.
So good evening. I wanted my colleague Juan Villegas to join me up here as he is a veteran. For all the veterans in the room, if you are a veteran, if you can please stand. First and foremost, I'd just like to thank you for your service and your dedication to this beautiful country. And so today, as you all know, we had a dark meeting. We didn't meet in the first meeting of August, and so I was unable to really celebrate with everyone on that specific day. But thank goodness we have a meeting here today, and we're all present to really recognize Purple Heart Day. And before I begin, we all know that those that serve in the military and those that have received this special recognition, they never look at themselves as heroes. They have always looked at themselves as a team, and really, at the end of the day, it is because of those individuals that are so humble, who rarely want to be recognized, but it's important for us as elected officials and as community members to truly recognize the sacrifice that not only they made for themselves, for this country, but for their family. And so it's with great honor to really read this proclamation. But before I do read this proclamation, I wanted to give Councilman Villegas the microphone to say a couple words, and then I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and then we'll go off to the next presentation.
Speak about it.
Yeah, you can. Both either.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Judge Carter is for many of you that know him, is the federal judge that's working with us on this homeless issue. If you know a little bit about the judge, he is a former officer that served in Vietnam. And during the war, he suffered multiple injuries during an attack. I believe it was in Khe Sanh. I don't know all the details, but he was injured very, very badly. And once he came back, and he continues to serve his country as a U.S. federal judge, and he travels the world a lot. I know he was in the Far East, and I think he's leaving to Singapore on Thursday. So he's a very, very busy man, very distinguished, long record serving in the justice system here, and I'm just very happy to acknowledge him today. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for the proclamation for Judge Carter. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. As Councilman Villegas, we're calling him by his first name. Typically don't do that, but as Councilman Villegas just mentioned, we asked Judge Carter to be here today. And again, for those of you who know this individual, very humble, and again, it's never about he as the individual, and so decided not to come here, and so wanted to really honor just all those that have been recognized with the Purple Heart, and those as well that have all served in the military, and more importantly, thank you, Councilman Villegas, for serving our country. Really greatly appreciate for your service. And so let me read here what Purple Heart Day is. Whereas our nation and its principles have been defended throughout history by brave and patriotic men. And Juan, I'm going to have you to help me. I have my contacts on, and I can't really read the words unless I go like this. So if you can, please help me. So I apologize about that.
Those words are...
I have these new contacts that, for whatever reason, I can't read up close these days.
Whereas our nation, its principles have defended throughout history by brave and patriotic men and women who willingly sacrificed their own well-being for the cause of freedom and democracy. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration still in present use and was initially created by George Washington in 1782 to honor brave military personnel. And whereas the Purple Heart, originally known as the Badge of Merit, was the first American Service Award made available for common soldier and is awarded to any member of the United States Armed Services wounded or killed in combat with a declared enemy of the United States. And whereas the Purple Heart serves as a means to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran members and their families, to promote patriotism, to support related legislative initiatives, and most importantly, to make sure we never forget the sacrifices made by those who decorated. And whereas our veterans have earned profound and eternal gratitude for their willingness to risk life and limb for the sake of this nation, its people, and our cherished freedoms. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of the City of Santa Ana, do hereby recognize Purple Heart Day and urge the community to join in acknowledging and honoring veterans who have been wounded in battle while defending the principles of democracy, freedom, and human rights.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask at this point that members of the community artists, the Santa Ana Community Artists Coalition, if you would join me up front, please. So it's my pleasure to be joined up here by a group of individuals that are very generous with their time, with their talent, and believe in the city of Santa Ana, believe in our community and bringing our community together. They're artists, and they use their talent as artists to give back. And I think we have playing, if not, if we can have some of the artwork that they have put together for the community presented here on the screen behind us. I appreciate that by staff. Thank you. So this is the Santa Ana Community Artists Coalition. It's a grassroots collaborative that came together in June of 2013. And there you see some of their work, specifically for the purpose of creating community-based, community-driven mural art projects in the city of Santa Ana. The coalition involves many community leaders, arts administrators, students, educators, local artists, and non-artists alike. All come from various backgrounds, yet work together to achieve the vision of a more engaged and united community through art. The artists of the coalition create art that transforms public spaces, generates civic engagement, and promotes personal and social change. Along with art, mentorship and education is provided to the young and aspiring adults. Community art workshops are offered within the city of Santa Ana as well. And today we recognize the work of the Santa Ana Community Artists Coalition for their appreciation of the arts and for their positive effect on the community as a whole. You know, I recognize a number of the faces, most if not all of the faces here as I've seen them out in the community, whether it be putting together arts displays at the Callejón del Beso, which is during the art walks in alleyway by the downtown, where they've put up one of the largest and most beautiful of their murals, although all of them are very beautiful in various places within the downtown and out in the community. One of the things that I've seen a group here do is in certain areas of the community, particularly I know I've seen walls that have been perpetually targeted with graffiti, with negative graffiti. The community has, or the artists here have been called on to help turn something that has been typically a canvas of kind of scars, if you will, of graffiti in the community, to turn that and redeem that wall into something of beauty. And so they've gone out and they've canvassed and talked to neighbors, knocked on doors, pulled the youth together, and asked them about. And I'm probably saying everything that you probably were going to say, because I would like for you to share a few words. But I've seen it and I've witnessed it, and that's why I wanted to make sure to share it. That I've seen them again pull the community together, gather ideas, and then reflect the ideas of the community by putting a brand new mural on again a wall that had been seen as in some cases retaliatory gang signs and graffiti into now something of color, of beauty, reflecting the heart and the ideas and vision of the residents that are there. And it really becomes uplifting. It becomes something that brings and ties the community together, because not only do they present the ideas that the artists here then sketch, but then they incorporate the children, they incorporate the family in actually painting the murals. And so it's something that for me, when I think about, and I often talk about the beauty of Santa Ana, about just how wonderful the city is, and it really comes down to the people, our people being beautiful people with a lot of their own talents that are very generous and do so much to give back. And this is one group that does that on a very tangible way. So I wanted to make sure to acknowledge and thank you for all of your countless hours of work. And if one of you, perhaps Alicia, if one of you would like to share a little bit about your work, would appreciate and would love to hear from you.
What do you dream of? What do you love about Santa Ana? ¿En qué sueñas? ¿Qué amas de Santa Ana? Those are the two questions that we usually ask before we paint a mural, a community mural. We have done over 1,000 surveys with the community to date. That means over 1,000 different conversations between project participants and the community about what their city and walls can look like. We take pride in extensive community engagement through workshops and surveys. We feel that the residents of Santa Ana should have a say in what their walls look like, especially in public spaces. So our murals do take longer than a normal other sort of type of mural, that it comes already with a vision. The vision and the sketch comes from the community. We try to do our best to put these conversations and these surveys into images that then go on the wall when the community comes out and also helps us paint them. We try to involve community members, teachers, children, artists in the project. So it's not just artists. It really comes to be a coalition every time we're in the community. Just one story I like to share that was really meaningful for, I think, a lot of us is we did a project in the community of Townsend and Myrtle, and we did have many youth at risk around the area who participated in being part of the process, and that had never happened in that neighborhood. And there is a park there that is inactivated because of the violence, where their moms don't let their children come out during the weekends. We were there for about a month, and every weekend the moms would come out and say thank you for being here, because it created an open space again in that park. So I know we were very proud of working in the neighborhood, which is where we're trying to focus. Thank you.
So, Alicia, thank you for those words, for all of you, and all of you, all of what you do for our community. We're extremely grateful that you would share again of your talents. The example that Alicia mentioned, several of the neighborhoods where they've done work that I've witnessed personally, the Myrtle Street neighborhood, Townsend Street neighborhood, the Santa Anita neighborhood and Santa Anita Community Center, and the Townsend and Myrtle in particular, I generally speaking don't like to highlight the fact that there are plenty of other people to highlight the negatives and challenges of our community. So I prefer to highlight the strength and the beauty of our city. However, there are these pockets, and those neighborhoods are two pockets where there have been challenged and impacted by gangs, and both of those walls that Alicia mentioned have been for years. I've lived actually in the Townsend neighborhood for 20 plus years, and this one wall in particular was consistently a wall that was hit with graffiti, and it became a territorial battle. And oftentimes, when you have gang turf wars, the crossing out of graffiti ends up leading to violence as a result, because the rival gang takes offense, and so both of these walls have turned into, again, that there's been this redeeming factor where now you see beauty, unity. Those walls don't get hit with this graffiti anymore. And I just want to again thank you on behalf of the hundreds and thousands of families from those communities, the kids, the youth, and for generations to come who will positively be impacted even as they walk to school. It's right across from Montevideo Elementary School. So whereas before they saw the gang monikers out there and they had to be faced with the fact that their neighborhood was being claimed by a gang, in this case now they see again just smiles and color, and they were able to be a part of that. So very deep and heartfelt, thank you for all that you do. Let's give them a round of applause, please. So today I do have a certificate of recognition from the City of Santa Ana, awarded to the Santa Ana Community Artists Coalition in recognition of your outstanding contributions to the community. I have one for the coalition as a whole, but I am going to ask unfortunately there was a miss on our end, because I had requested, I did want each of you to receive one personally. So we will fix that. So Daisy, if you could please connect with Alicia and the group, I'd like to make sure that we get all of their names and that we do correct that and make sure to make that available to each of you, because that's the least that we can do. So if you would come join up a little bit closer up here, and again, I'd like to make this presentation, and thank you again for all of your contributions. Thank you. Round of applause again for them, please. Thank you.
Now, Councilmember Jose Solorio, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to invite up our friends from Habitat for Humanity, Orange County. Please, both of you come on up. Paula, you as well, please. As you all know, we have a housing crisis in America, in California, and in Orange County, and part of that crisis includes the need for affordable housing. And we're real pleased and honored that here in Orange County we have a very active Habitat for Humanity, and we have with us today the President and CEO, Sharon Ellis, who by the way is also very active in Sacramento. I know she's been a big part of all the new housing dollars and policies being developed. We also have Paula Garcia Arsenal, Director of Family and Home Buyer Services, also with Habitat for Humanity of Orange County. I think previously she was with the bank and very involved with our Chamber of Commerce, so we're happy to have her still helping us in our community. Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit organization. It's headquartered in Santa Ana, and it strives to eliminate substandard housing through advocacy, education, and partnership with families and individuals in need. In order to serve these needs, Habitat assists in the building and attainment of sustainable and affordable housing. To date, they have helped 4,000 women, men, and children through affordable housing, home repairs, and various expenses. Let's give them a round of applause just for that. 4,000 individuals helped. They began here in Orange County in 1988, which is why we're here. And this organization since then has built 219 affordable homes from scratch, including the sweat and equity of the folks that ultimately live there, and a lot of volunteer help, and a lot of contractors donating services and labor as well. Of the 219, 30 were built right here in Santa Ana. And I know just maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, we dedicated, I think it was like 5 new homes in central Santa Ana. And so we're really pleased about that. And they've helped attain, through the process, they've helped individuals attain the dream of home ownership, which is fantastic. The city is extremely pleased to, on behalf of all its residents, on behalf of the county, recognize Habitat for its 30th year anniversary. We applaud them for their service. We in particular also thank them and want to let them know we appreciate their altruism, their humanity, and their love for our community, one affordable home at a time. Congratulations. We'll hear from Sharon, and then I'll present a certificate to him.
Thank you. On behalf of Habitat for Humanity of Orange County, we are delighted to do the work that we do here in Santa Ana. Of the 30 homes that we have built here in Santa Ana, I think it's an amazing statement about not only the program, but the families who have been engaged with us. Not one home has gone into foreclosure. In fact, of all of the homes that we have built in Orange County, not one has ever gone into foreclosure. And I think that is a statement about the commitment that families make when they put in that sweat equity and they are building their home. I used to be a teacher in this district, so I know the value of family and community. And I think one of the amazing things that I see with Habitat is that we are building homes. It is the families who are helping to build their own house. And what those children see is what grown-ups do when they give back in their community. What they also see is what their parents have done to transform their lives going forward. Our goal is that those families will never be homeless and that the second generation will be educated, skilled, and purchasing market-rate homes. So our goal as a Habitat organization is really the transformation of families from instability to stability, and we are honored to be able to do that here in the city of Santa Ana and look forward to building more homes right here. Thank you.
You know, every time I hear a different stat that I like, so, I mean, imagine that 219 homeowners, low income, in over 30 years, not one of those loans has went into default. That's fantastic. And so the sweat equity, I know they also do a lot of education to show folks how to balance a budget and make the mortgage payment. All those things really help, including the faith that they have in those families. So again, on behalf of the mayor and city council, it's my honor to recognize Habitat for Humanity on a fantastic 30 years and many more homes to be built in the next 30. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I am now going to recognize Councilmember Sal Tinajero.
I'd like to call up our 2018 National Speech Champions to come on up from the Advanced Learning Academy. So we have some of our students here that were on the team. There were a total of 11 students from the Advanced Learning Academy. 12. I knew that. I was just testing you. They went to they qualified out of the school district. So just a little background. 2 years ago, the Santa Ana Unified School District decided to start a speech and debate program that was district-wide amongst intermediate schools. They started with all the intermediate schools. In just 2 years, it is now in 15 elementary schools, every single middle school, and 6 of our comprehensive high schools. So the program has grown. There's scholarships that are offered to our students. So our middle school students compete against each other for a whole year. And in March, they have what's called the Santa Ana District Championships, where the top 2 students from each event, and there's a total of 12 events, go to nationals representing their school. The Advanced Learning Academy dominated this year. They won every speech and debate tournament that the district offered, which is huge. And their coach, Miss Barbara Hogan, was also selected by her peers as the Coach of the Year. So let's give them a round of applause for that. So what happens is when you have a district that's competing amongst each other, there are those naysayers out there who say, well, they do well amongst each other, but what's going to happen when they go to compete against Florida and Texas and New York and Connecticut and those schools? Well, we answered that. We win. And so our students went up against 1,000 other intermediate schools and brought back the national championship here to Santa Ana. So that deserves a huge round of applause for these young ladies. So, just to give you an example, so they had 12 students. Usually the rule of thumb when you are predicting whether or not you're going to win is a good, they call it turn, it's an advancing. So if you have 12 students and 6 of them make it to quarterfinals, you're looking good. If out of the 6, 3 of them make it to semis, you're looking good. You want to advance 50% every time. Let me tell you how dominant the Advanced Learning Academy was. They went out there, out of their 12 students, they advanced 8 to the quarterfinals. Out of those 8, they advanced 6 to the semifinals. So it was more than 50%. And then they advanced 3 to the finals. So when we were at the award ceremony in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, I was thinking, I think we might have won. I think we might have won. So when they announced us, I couldn't contain myself. But I want to let you speak to one of our students. Tiffany, come on up. Say a few words.
Hi. And speech and debate has done a lot for all of us, and I'd just like to give a huge thank you to our school district and, of course, our city councilmen for supporting us and giving us a chance to show that we actually can do something. And yeah, thank you.
So Tiffany was a 5th grader last year, and she competed with all of the junior high school students. She could have qualified to nationals last year, but she was only a 5th grader, and nationals is only for 6th, 7th, and 8th, well, for the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So she's only a 6th grader. She's a returner. I think she's got a great future. I want to call up our principal for the Advanced Learning Academy because it's a unique school, and I think it's important that she tell you a little bit about it. Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kim Garcia, and I'm the principal at Advanced Learning Academy. We are part of the Santa Ana Unified District. We are a school of choice, so we offer from grades 3 through 10th this year. We're going to be expanding up to 12th grade, but over the last 3 years, I kind of just want to echo what Tiffany said. I want to thank our district leadership, our City Council, especially one of our council members here, Mr. Sal Tinajero, for really supporting the district with speech and debate. Our coach, Mrs. Hogan, who's just really made our program grow over the last few years so that we are able to get these students to the national championship. And it's just a wonderful thing. We're a small school of about 370 kids, and to win this national championship and bring the championship to Santa Ana and really make an impact is really special. So thank you.
And I would like to call up Ms. Barbara Hogan so I can present her with the certificates. There is a certificate that says Advanced Learning Academy in recognition, your 2018 NSDA Speech and Debate Tournament Champions. That goes in her office. Okay? So there are other certificates for everybody else. If there is someone that we missed, please let us know, and we'll make sure we do that. So I'm going to present these over to you. And I just want to congratulate you. And what do you think? Repeat? Yes. Are we going to repeat? All right, we're going to repeat. So thank you very much. Let's take a quick picture.
We have like a big one. Should we hold one up in the middle? Yeah, no, just hold the main one.
There you go.
I'm going to wait for the city attorney to return before I ask her if there's anything to report out. But meanwhile, I'm going to redirect our... Oh, here she is. Madam City Attorney, is there anything to report out of closed session, please?
Mayor, the only reportable action that we have this evening is the council did authorize us to initiate a nuisance abatement action against property owner in the general area of Harbor and Hazard. Under the red light abatement, we can file a nuisance abatement action to stop illegal activity, and that was decided by a 6-0 vote with Councilmember Sarmiento absent.
All right, thank you for that. Now I'm going to direct our attention to the consent calendar and ask council members if there are any items that they wish to pull. Yes, Councilor Solorio.
19 ayes, so maybe we can hear a brief report.
All right. Let's, any other items? If not, I'll entertain a motion on the balance.
Motion approved.
Second by Benavides. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Now let's go on to item 19I, I think it was. And then I know Mayor Pro Tem was a no vote on some items. When she comes back, I'll let her record those. 19I, if we can go ahead and let's go to Councilor Solorio.
Yes, this item is the Homeless Services Quarterly Report for April 2018 through June 2018. Obviously, we have a homelessness crisis in Santa Ana, and a lot of good work is being done. Much remains to be done as well, but it'd be great to have somebody from the staff present some highlights from this report.
Good evening. My name is Hafsa Keika. I'm the Homeless Services Manager with the city. Thank you, Council Member. You are absolutely correct. We have many things and many initiatives that's happening within homeless services. For this quarter, there were about 8 major initiatives, which is outlined on about the 4th page. Since this is from April to June of 2018, I did include the Civic Center Plaza operation, which happened in April. And as we could see the change in our Civic Center Plaza, we had, in partnership with the county and the city, individuals assessed from the encampments and individuals who were connected to housing resources along with supportive services. So that was a major, major change, and we no longer have those encampments. On the other side of that, we do continue to work with the federal judge and the county on trying to ensure that the unsheltered population is able to find a sheltered population with the courtyard and other emergency shelters. Another big initiative that happened was the opposition to the Orange County needle exchange. We as a city came together along with our partnership with the Santa Ana Police Department and Chief Valentine, and we strongly opposed the needle exchange to the California Department of Public Health. Unfortunately, that is something that has proceeded to move forward, but we are working diligently as a city to ensure that the impacts are mitigated at the community at large. We also continued to work with the Housing Authority in partnership to ensure that we could get mainstream vouchers and family unification vouchers. So we connected with the Housing Urban Development and we submitted applications, and we will be receiving notification about those housing opportunities in the near future. We continue to also work very collaboratively with the other cities in the Central Service Planning area. So in the world of homeless services, there's a North Service Planning area, there's a Central Service Planning area, and there's also a South Service Planning area. And we are a leader within the Central Service Planning area, ensuring that we're working with the other cities to have a fair share and equitability in addressing homelessness. And lastly, what's really exciting is our good mayor has taken initiative to be part of the Big 11 cities, and we've been working very closely with cities such as Oakland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and we have been able to take part of the Homeless Emergency Aid Program, which the Notice of Funding availability will be available next month, and we're going to be hopefully allocated a good amount. We're projected to allocate a good amount for emergency services to address homelessness, and that has been really good in collaboration with big cities. So very exciting, and that kind of sums up the major initiatives.
Thank you very much. In addition to those 8 initiatives that you talked about, I wanted to highlight from the work of our Quality of Life team, which is
Absolutely.
a great multidisciplinary team with staff from PD, Parks and Rec, Public Works, Code Enforcement, and County Healthcare Outreach workers. They, over this period that was 23 weeks, they contacted personally 1,100 individuals.
Yes.
They addressed issues at nearly 800 encampments.
Yes.
They disposed of 433 shopping carts and disposed of 196 tons of trash and debris, all through process, all through a lot of care and a lot of referrals and other good things along the way. And so I really want to thank the staff for all their good work. Again, we definitely still have a lot to do. We still continue to see more homeless from outside of Santa Ana come in. We're trying to figure out how to close the courtyard and address some housing needs and problems in our community. So much more to go, but I do appreciate the work done today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With that, I'll move the item, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Now we go on to the regular calendar. I would entertain a motion on item 50A.
Move the item.
All second. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. 55A, I would entertain a motion.
Move the item.
Second by Villegas.
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Mayor.
50. Yes.
It's,
I'll let you add your votes.
if we could continue item 50A, we've received a couple of letters in the last 18 hours.
Well, you got to tell us beforehand. All right, let's reconsider 50A. So we have a request from staff to continue. I would entertain such a motion.
Move the continuance. Do we have to reconsider or just no? Okay.
I'll second that. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Let's let Mayor Pro Tem Martinez read into the record some items.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I want to read into the record that I'm a no on 10A, on 20A, 25H, no. And I wanted to pull 25N and 25O, but you already voted on it, so I'll just be very quick and brief. Just wanting to let our community know on 25N is, moving forward with our bike, the station and consultant, and just wanting to thank our staff for that. And then 25O is keeping our promise and moving forward with the architecture for the Lacey Park. That was a promise that was and a commitment. So we're starting that process. I want to thank our Parks and Rec department for moving forward with that. Trying to find the funding is not always easy, and so our Parks and Rec department is very creative, and just wanting to thank them and the community. Mr. Mayor, and with that, those are my comments.
Thank you. So with that, we're going to keep going on with the regular agenda.
Mayor, we actually need 5 votes on 20A and 20B. They're both appropriation
All right,
adjustments.
let's reconsider 20A and 20B. I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Those in favor, please say aye. 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 So you have 5 votes.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I was a no on 28, so you have to wait for Mr. Hara. You have to wait for Sal to come back on that.
On 28. All right, we'll reconsider 28. But meanwhile, let's go on to other items.
20B has the same
So
requirement.
if he's not here,
She voted yes on 20B.
Yeah, let me reconsider. I just spoke with Steve and he's looking at me, so I'll reconsider and I'll vote yes.
On both?
On 28.
All right, so we have the 5. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. She's in a good mood. Can we ask her to do anything else? 55B, I would entertain a motion.
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. 55C, I would entertain.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion carries. 55D,
Move
I
the
would
item.
entertain a motion.
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion carries. Item 75A, this is time and place for a public hearing, an ordinance implementing expedited streamlined electrical vehicle charging stations permitting process.
Make a motion to approve.
Let me just real quick, I open up the public hearing. Does anybody wish to address this? See no one, I'll close it. I'll entertain your motion, Mayor Pro Tem. So she has a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. This is a very good thing. Electric cars are good and you need charging stations. So with that, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. 75B, this is a public hearing. This is the overlay for the expand and amend the Metro East mixed-use area. Let me first open up the public hearing, see if we have anybody that wishes to address us. See no one, I will close the public hearing and bring it to council for consideration. I'd entertain a motion.
I do have some some questions.
All right, go ahead, please.
With regard to there are a few actions. So if I can have staff.
Go ahead.
From what I've been able to gather from reviewing this item, there are a couple of actions. One is doing some amendments to the zoning within the existing Metro East overlay zone, right, which is east of the 55 freeway, and then looking at, generally speaking, and then looking at a potential expansion of the zone west of the
5 freeway.
55.
Right, the current boundaries are between the 5 freeway and the 55 freeway, essentially, along First Street North and South. And we're looking to extend it to the west from for First Street at the 5 freeway all the way to Grand Avenue.
Okay.
It's about 33 acres, 52 parcels.
Okay. Can you tell us, there's the extension, and then there's also additional amendments to the zoning, to some of the current zoning, correct, within the existing
Yes.
overlay? Is that
So what we're doing here, this is an overlay, which means the zoning is going to stay the same out there, but we're putting on this additional layer that gives the property owners additional opportunities for development. And that overlay is essentially a mixed-use type of development it would allow. So that's what the zoning action before you tonight is, to allow this overlay to occur. Also, a general plan amendment's being requested to make sure the zoning and general plan are consistent, so you don't have any conflicts there. And then we have a few tweaks to the zoning document itself. This is our third form-based code, and we've learned over the last couple of them, which is Harbor and the Transit Zoning Code in downtown, that we have some good standards we want to apply to this one. This is our oldest code, form-based code. We want to update it and make it a little more realistic.
So the zoning that's there are changes to what the existing Metro East overlay zone, correct? And that's what you're referring to as far as again, there's several actions, so I'm just trying to understand them.
Sure.
Specifically, my question is, what type of impact or changes are there to the existing zone and the existing Metro overlay, Metro East overlay zone first?
Sure. Okay, so we're looking to modify the standards in three areas. Just tweaking the setback standards. The current Metro East requires a big 100-foot setback in the rear. We're looking to make it more consistent with our Harbor and Transit Zoning Code, a smaller setback. There's some open space tweaks we're making, make sure the open space is aligned with our other standards. And then the height of buildings. So those are the three code sections we're looking to change for the current Metro East.
Okay, and when it comes to the height, I'm assuming allowing for increase.
A little bit slightly increase in one area from 3 stories to 4 stories, and then for our office zones from 6 stories to 10 stories.
Okay. So I do. So that all is those changes that you just referenced with regards to Metro East overlay zone. I remember being here through that whole process, and it certainly makes sense. Part of what we wanted to be able to do is provide that overlay to allow options for the owners of those properties, an area that we identified that had quite a bit of potential for development. We've seen some of that already, and through these changes, I see that we're looking at being able to address update so that it allows for
this is a gateway into our city, so
right.
We think that First Street needs some additional attention.
So for those changes, I am ready to be supportive. The expansion west of the 55. I do have a few questions that I'd like to follow up on, and I know that Councilman Sarmiento, for whom who's the council member for this district, had some additional comments or questions. Also wanted to look into.
We spoke this afternoon, council member.
So, and I spoke to him right as I was walking into closed session about 5 o'clock. And so what I'd like to do is make a motion to approve the amendments to the existing Metro East overlay and provide request a continuation for the expansion. So we do have an opportunity to provide some additional questions of staff. So that's what I would be.
I'm ready to move forward, but why don't we hear from Mayor Pro Tem first?
Thank you,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Mayor.
Pro
So,
Tem.
this is our second form-based code, correct? Third, because I forget Harbor. Yes.
Harbor, downtown, yes.
So, downtown, Harbor, and then now this here. And so, what I would say, I think we did a great job on Harbor specific plan. The form-based code that took place in upzoning into our downtown, I don't think we did a good job. And I'm critical because as you have a streetcar coming, and I'm telling a story because I think the narrative is very important, and it's not to be critical of staff, but as we move into the 21st century, we have to understand that as we move forward, this is not about zoning to help, developers come here and get what they possibly can from the city of Santa Ana with no return back to this community. And we all know that when we look at our coffers, we've been too generous. Our infrastructure matters. The chickens eventually come home to roost. And infrastructure is not cheap to maintain. We know what it costs to maintain roads. We know the life cycles of those. We know the life cycles of our water systems, of our sewer systems, but never do we take into account when we're doing zoning and land use, factoring those costs in for the long haul. And what's that going to cost the city of Santa Ana? So when we talk about wanting to be innovative, as I look at what happened in downtown, we decide to upzone part of the downtown, and then anything past Lacey into our train station, it's not upzoned because we didn't want to destroy the quality of life per se of certain folks in that area. It doesn't make sense when you have a streetcar coming from the Santa Ana train station all the way into our downtown and beyond. And so as I look and what we're trying to do, I believe that a form-based code does work, but it works more when you're able to aggregate properties with private property owners. It's not about just giving you the by right of entitlements, so you don't have to go through this a process. But it's also important to realize that we want to make sure that when we're developing an area, that we have buy-in and opportunity for all those within that form-based code. That's important for us to recognize, and we're not doing that here. So how innovative this is beyond me, and I don't mean to be critical, but based on the financial situation of this city, we need to start working with one another collectively within our departments to understand what the fiscal implications are when we're rezoning. As I mentioned, our downtown is our golden goose, and the decisions that are being made, and I'm the first to say that I'm at fault, because I initially thought that when I first supported this, that, in totality, the form-based code was consistent. And then I realized when Northgate Gonzalez Market is trying to do their project, that they have to do status quo. No more than 3 stories, more parking than housing. I said, how did this happen? When First American and their building, and with the Toll Brothers, what are they doing? Totally different, and literally a block and a half away. So we need to be vigilant on this council and understanding that the decisions that we are making today are going to have major implications on the financial impact of this city. And it's not about not wanting to support private development. It's not about wanting to make sure that we don't get full participation from our community, but it is important to understand the fiscal implications, because they matter. The intersection of land use and finance matters. And so when we're not speaking with our finance department, with our economic development department, with our public works department as it pertains to infrastructure and what those costs are going to cost, we're going to be here 20 years from now wondering why we chose to move in this direction when we're not getting the best value per acre. And so I only state these concerns because we only have one opportunity. And is this opportunity, what you're bringing forward to me today, is this your best foot forward? Mr. Vince Fregoso?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Do you believe this is a game changer for Santa Ana, and we're going to get the best value, bang for our buck, based on this current form-based code that you're presenting here today?
Yeah, we believe it's a very good plan. Back to the comments you made about the collaborative efforts, we have something called development review that involves every review agency in the city: building, fire, planning, police, community development, public works. Throw out the table, review these projects together, and we're all analyzing all the different impacts of these projects. And before we come before you, we've analyzed it, vetted it through, and we're standing behind
So
the
why don't I have a
recommendations.
forecast before me indicating from 20 years from now what kind of this zoning, what kind of revenue is going to be generating to the city, number one? What are the fiscal implications that pertains to our infrastructure and what that's going to cost, the miles of roads, of our sewers, all of that matters, right? When we talk about one-time money coming in from our developers and we think, oh, we're going to get $12 million, well, guess what? That's not in perpetuity. That's one-time funds. Who's going to take care of the roads? Who's going to take care of the sewers, the water systems, the lights? And these are the questions that we need to start asking ourselves, especially in the position that we're currently in. And I don't mean to be abrupt towards our staff. I don't mean to be rude. But I'm just asking these important questions, and I've continued to ask them over and over again. We have one moment in time here, a window of opportunity to do things right. And I personally do not believe, when you don't provide me the fiscal projections and analysis for me to make a decision, it is very hard for me to move forward. Because I already know some of the implications. Not too long ago, we got an email about, a water main breaking, and what did that cost? Right? And guess what? Many of our pipes are 75 years to 100 years old, so are our sewer systems. And guess what? Proposition 6, which is SB1 for our roads, we already bonded our gas tax. We're screwed on that. And Proposition 6 moves forward. What money do you believe is going to be coming to the city of Santa Ana to fix our roads? Zero. We're going to be in trouble. And so I think that we need to consider all those things before we make major decisions like this. I am supportive if we do it right, but I want to make sure that you bring this information back to me. I've met with staff. I've made it very clear that the fiscal implications in regards to land use and zoning are important as we move forward. And with that, those are my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Before we go on to additional comments, I just want to ask maybe our city manager or finance. I know I asked some time ago, was there a financial analysis, which is part of what Mayor Pro Tem is alluding to, and I understand that there was. Can somebody speak to that? The projections, costs, revenues to the city, et cetera.
Mr. Mayor, I know we're starting as part of our Planning Commission reports to start doing a fiscal analysis the best that we can, the implications on it, analyzing the projects, figuring out how much sales tax could be generated, how much property tax increases could be done, in addition to all the one-time fees. So we're just starting to do that work right now as part of our reports.
Well, Mr. Mayor, yes, I agree. This is something that we are only now starting to do recently, and it's a direct result of the questions that the Mayor Pro Tem has been asking of us. So it's not been a past practice of ours to do this, apparently, in the city. And I don't know that, in fact, in fairness to staff here, it probably isn't the best practice, unfortunately, for a lot of cities. I've not seen this happen in any of the cities that I've worked in where they've been proactive, but I believe that it is something that we should be doing, and we've started to.
Additional thoughts or questions?
Just my own.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just again, going back to my comments from earlier, I think the Metro East Overlay Zone went through the whole process. I think maybe 10 years or so back.
This was approved in 2007, so it probably started around 2005. Started first coming through.
And there were some, there's process to look at opportunities for development to bring in additional investment and new development, increasing density and other things based on studies, analysis that had been done, traffic studies, a number of other things. We've seen some investment, some improvement, although frankly I anticipated, and I know it was right around the time that the real estate market took a downturn and all, but I had anticipated that once we went ahead and moved forward, with the Metro East overlay zone that we would see quite a bit more. It's been slower in coming than I had anticipated. However, we have seen some investment. The 1901, I think the one completed project. I know we have a couple of others that are either underway or at least one fully approved and titled. So there are some, again, just going back, some additional questions with regard to the expansion into that west from 55 over to Grand that I would like to have us spend a little bit more time to come back and revisit. So my motion, Mr. Mayor, is to approve the modifications to the zoning under the existing area, and then continue and the expansion into the west of along First Street, west of the 55. Don't know if there's a
seeing no second. Are there any other thoughts? Councilor Villegas? No other thoughts?
Mr. Mayor, I would just ask for our staff if they can come back with that fiscal analysis, and number two, if I can get any documentation, email communication between our staff and any other entities as it pertains to the 45-day notice of CEQA. I asked our city manager this morning, what major changes we were making. Obviously, notice is very important. And number two, if we are making these adjustments into expanding, as Councilman Benavides said, and he's not comfortable moving forward, before even any of this comes up to me, for me to even consider supporting, this first phase or second phase, I need to see the fiscal forecasting and analysis, and two, any documentation or email communication as it pertains to the 45-day notice. I want to make sure that we are in compliance. The last thing that I want is this council to move this forward, and then all of a sudden, as these projects move forward, we are getting sued. And how is that being business friendly or economic friendly to the development community? And we sometimes want to do things right, and we move too quickly and we find ourselves in trouble. And so I want all documentation as it pertains to the 45-day notice. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for our city attorney, if I may. Mayor Pro Tem right now alluded to the fact that if we move forward with this, we potentially are going to be sued by folks, no?
I didn't allude to that. No, I did not, Mr. Mayor.
What did you allude to?
I said if the council were to move forward, that you would want to have the documentation to make sure that we are in compliance with the 45-day notice. The last thing that we want is that we are not in compliance, and when projects start to move forward, we then get a lawsuit, and then that delays development.
Well, and that's what I was talking about, that potential lawsuit. If I could ask staff, how long have we been working on this? Because I think it's been a long, long time. And is there anywhere where we're not in compliance with any 45-day notice? Because that's the 45-day review. Or are we not in compliance on any project?
I'm not saying that we're not. I just want to see documentation so I can have record for myself.
Well, and can they provide that to you?
Yes. So in the staff report, the Planning Commission report, it has a discussion of the CEQA actions there. And on page 75B13, it covers when the comments, well, 70B12, B13 talks about the 45-day review period, when the document was out for review, when it closed, and the comments were received. So we're in compliance with the noticing requirements. So the public comment period closed on a month ago. As far as how long we've been working on the project for.
Could you, after the fact, provide more specific documentation?
Absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
She wants whatever backup you have for those
I don't care
minutes.
what the Planning Commission. I want to see direct documentation that we are protected.
Not a problem. As far as
That's not a problem, you said.
Not a problem. We can get that documentation.
All right.
And as far as how long we've been working on this project for, it actually started back in 2014 when the council approved the housing element. One of the items that we identified was some opportunity sites of residential development along this First Street corridor between Grand and the 5 freeway. So one of the projects, AMCAL had to go through a lengthy process, the zone change, general plan amendment, and EIR. because we didn't have any zoning in place for that project to move forward. So that kind of the impetus there. There's several properties along that corridor right now that are impacted. Back in 2016, which Mayor Pro Tem was part of the subcommittee, the development committee had this issue come up, and they actually directed staff to move forward on the Metro East expansion. And this whole council gave staff money to move forward with that action as well. So based upon that direction.
So you've been working on this for years?
Yes. And this is finally, we're now here before you several months,
Yeah,
many months
but
later.
I'm not given time. When's the last time this came up to us, to a committee, to actually review in detail before coming to this council? I think this is the first time in several months, maybe even over a year. So let's just be honest, to make a decision like this, that is major, that is moving this city, trying to move this city into the 21st century, I have a lot of questions. This is not a decision that should just be made overnight, simply because we've been working on this for several years. So I just want to make that very clear, that we should, and there's only a few of us that sit on that committee now. So I'm assuming that many of these council members that are here before are seeing this for the very first time. And so that's not fair to them. It's not fair to us that haven't seen this document in over a year. And I believe we could have done a better job. And again, I don't mean to be critical, but this is a big change coming. And we should do it right. And I just hope that, that the staff doesn't think that I'm picking on them. But again, we only have a window of opportunity to make sure that what we do down that corridor is going to matter in the long run, because it's going to matter for the residents of this community. So it's not just about housing and what we've done with affordable and what we plan to do. We all know moving forward, Mr. Mayor, we need to do mixed use. It needs to be high density, it has to be live, work, and play. I could go on. And more importantly, how do we work in making sure that we're able to bring all the players? And again, I haven't seen the notes. I'm not on the planning commission, but I would just ask if I can get any documentation as well of all of these, that the expansion of this zone, how many property owners did we speak to, and who, if it's documented, who are those people? Thank you.
Do you want to address a few of those questions if you can?
Just simply, there have been several outreach meetings over the last year and a half.
Just speak a little slower.
Sure. Several outreach meetings. We had a sunshine meeting about a year ago, where we had about 100 people in attendance. Then we went out to the couple of neighborhoods, the Saddleback View and I believe it's the Lion Street neighborhoods, and walked them through the whole project as well late last year. We had a planning commission study session. We invited people to attend to that item as well earlier this year. And then we had the planning commission public meeting about a month ago. So we had at least 5 meetings that I can recall interacting with the community and getting their feedback on this project.
Okay. The part that I'm not comfortable with is if we split this up in two, in essence, which I know is part of what Councilman Benavides was doing. There's like a lot of folks on the west side that have been probably planning and following this process, and I don't know that if we pick one over another that's beneficial or fair to everybody by not being on the same page, so to speak. So any further thought? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. First of all, I want to apologize. Giving you a document 5 days in advance is not the best thing to do for a sophisticated project like this. We apologize. We struggle with providing good public service and quick things, and we struggle with trying to get things to you in a streamlined manner, and we did that. We took a chance of getting it to you for this agenda to move this project along, and again, we're sorry about that, but we want to be fair to you. We want to respect your time. We want to make sure that the Planning Commission did a lot of heavy lifting on your behalf for this project. They did a lot of heavy lifting. You'll see a lot of documentation regarding comments and response to comments to the EIR that are published before you make a decision tonight. They're published, they're vetted, and they're analyzed. And each of those are included in your packet tonight before you render a decision on an EIR. Now, no decision can be made tonight unless you certify the environmental impact report for this project. And that's your first action. Your second action would be to approve the second part of the recommended action. But again, we can always do better by providing more information to you earlier on. But again, we struggle with trying to get things to you and react to the public need for a streamlined department that operates efficiently. So I want to add that if that helps move this along.
All right, so you're suggesting potentially do the...
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza, for your
ETAC.
honesty.
You're welcome.
So you're saying potentially, and I can respect that, and I so can Mayor Pro Tem. So you're suggesting maybe approve the environmental component today and bring back for a subsequent meeting the second half, which is the ordinance on the zoning. Is that correct?
I'm not suggesting that. I just state that number 2 can't happen unless number 1 happens first.
So just as I remember why we break them down the way we do in your staff report as a first resolution is this is one of the few times when the individual council members have to independently state affirmatively that you've reviewed the documents and that you independently have made the decision that the environmental document is satisfactory to you. There's certain findings that are in those resolutions. And I think if you can do that tonight, then you would make that declaration, you would have that vote. Only after you've done that do you even become eligible to take action, and that's what our director is telling you. That's the first step, and then the others come in line after that.
Well, I'm prepared to, move forward on item 1. I know that staff has worked for a long, long time. We haven't had challenges from folks. It's been put out for review. The challenge period, I think, is closed. So I'm not sure what we would do differently on the environmental component. Go ahead.
Let's see, the expansion is where I'm struggling with, because again, 10 or so years ago, I was here when we went through the whole process with the Metro East Overlay Zone. And there were a number of meetings that were held. I believe I guess it must have been just one public hearing, but I know that there were, and I don't know if there were maybe more than the one. But I know it was more of an extensive conversation, and we analyzed and reviewed the environmental impact report and documents at that time. Part of what I'm struggling with right now is, again, the expansion, where I still have some questions, and I know, Councilman, that part of my comments are tied to the fact that Councilman Sarmiento, who is a councilman for this district, would like to be a part of this conversation. He conveyed that to me directly, and he has some additional questions. And I want to generally, when there are large projects that will impact a specific council area, we do respect and defer to the representative of that area. So that's part of part of my comments and hesitation. The other is that the environmental impact report addresses not only Metro East Overlay Zone, but it also ties a specific project, which this is the first that I get any information on this, the Elan project. So I have some questions and would like to better understand that project, and that, again, this is the first time that's coming before us as well. So I simply when making a significant decision, we're charged with, as council members, to do our due diligence to ensure that what we're voting on, tying to what the city attorney has indicated, that we have studied, vetted, that we have asked the proper and appropriate questions, and that the action that we're taking is an official action that will impact the community, that area, for in perpetuity going forward. And today I'm not yet in a position to do that.
Mayor Pro Tem has a suggestion, maybe it's not a bad one, to continue this for 2 weeks. Councilor Sarmiento will be here. In the interim, she has a series of questions and suggestions. We could work with staff to potentially implement some of those that's brought back. And that maybe at that point we can move together with all of it, not just the central and the west separately, but move with the whole thing. So why don't, there was no motion earlier. If you make a motion for 2 weeks.
Make a motion to continue for 2 weeks.
All right. Second. We have motion and second. Yes, Councilor Solorio.
Yes, consistent with some of the other comments, I would like to learn more about future economic potential with the expansion. That's number one. Secondly, I want to better understand what the improvements are to the existing area, as opposed to obviously everything, west of the freeways is all new. But I know that there's some distinctions to what you're proposing for the existing area, and I know there's quite a bit in the report and the PowerPoint. But if you can add anything else that may be missing, that would be fantastic. Because I do view the options are approve it all or treat the two segments differently. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so with that, we have a motion and a second for a 2-week continuance and a lot of work in between. Those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed, motion carries. Item 75C, there's a resolution to authorize negotiation for the sale of portions of city-owned real estate at 1301 and 1305 West 12th Street, non-general fund. Does anybody wish to address the City Council on this item as part of the open testimony? Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to Council for consideration.
Just if staff can just
Staff, can you do a very brief
on this
presentation on this? It's just a sale of 2 lots, I believe.
Bristol, Washington, near Bristol, Washington. I believe it, and I guess one of my questions is the source of funds. It says non-general. Anyway, if you can just...
Good evening. You had some questions related to the item?
Just a quick brief on what the item that you're asking us to vote on tonight.
So, on the corner of Washington and Bristol, southwest corner, there is a small shopping center with a 7-Eleven. The property owner there was impacted by the Bristol project. We did a partial take of some of the parking along Bristol. So, also to the south of that property, there's a cul-de-sac on 12th Street. So it's going to carve out. You can see that in the exhibit for the page 75C3. You can see the bulb of the cul-de-sac there on the north side of 12th Street is going to carve into those properties that were acquired. And so it's kind of an odd shape that's, I believe, just slightly over 8,000 square feet. And this property owner has expressed interest in acquiring that property to replace the parking that he lost as part of the acquisition we did on Bristol.
So what you're asking us today is to authorize negotiation, direct negotiation with that property owner. The properties immediately to the west, is that residential single family that would be then adjacent to that expanded parking?
Correct. Per the Bristol specific plan, these 2 parcels in question are zoned commercial, so it's consistent with the specific plan.
So all I would, if we go into negotiation and eventually end up reaching agreement, just would want to make sure that we are very intentional about mitigating any impacts to the single-family residential. At one point, they had other homes, and now they would be potentially having commercial parking lot there adjacent to that. So whether it be walls or vegetation or just different things to be able to respect and address the privacy of the single-family homes.
Okay.
So that you addressed my question. I'll go ahead and make motion that we authorize the negotiation commence.
I'll second. All right. We have motion and second. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And then you go ahead, Jose.
This is on Bristol Street. I know there's a lot of work being done in this area, so there is some merit to bringing this forward. But I would suspect that along the entirety of Bristol Street, there are a number of vacant parcels owned by the city where there are adjacent property owners that would like to purchase land for whatever the need might be. Why is it that this item is before us and not many of those other proposed purchases?
In most cases, with the other properties that the city holds, or actually the project, the Bristol project holds, is that those can be assembled into sellable properties. This here is not of independent utility. It's too small for residential. The shape is odd, and the adjacent property owner has expressed that interest. So it's kind of low-hanging fruit as far as releasing this project, these properties, and also bringing that revenue back to the project.
No, I appreciate that, but in full honesty, I mean, we've had, I think, a conversation now for about 2 years on figuring out a game plan with respect to all the vacant properties owned by the city and finding a fair process to sell them. And I'm sure that there are a number of folks up and down Bristol that can make the argument, hey, this portion's too small, nothing else can be a good use for it, sell it to me, there's this process for direct negotiations, etc. And so I'm just kind of skeptical that really this is the only situation, and so I'm kind of puzzled as to why only this one and not the various others, number one. And number two, why aren't we really using this as part of the new package and the new process that we've been working on for 2 years? So for those reasons, I won't be supporting this item just because I feel that these one-offs, while there's merit to them, you end up holding everything else and creating an unfair process where we're trying to create fairness, but yet we keep doing these one-off deals. So for those reasons, I won't support it today. Thank you.
Councilmember Villegas.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Mr. City Manager, isn't some of those lots that we have along Bristol, they're tied to transportation, so we can't do anything with that? I mean, if we were to sell them, the money's going to have to go back to transit. Is that correct?
Yes, the council member, whatever proceeds come from the sale of any of these parcels that were purchased initially with transportation funds, those proceeds have to go back to transportation-related projects, specifically this corridor here. So, it doesn't come to the general fund unless it was originally purchased with something that's eligible to. So
not all the lots. What I'm saying is not all the lots along Bristol fall under this. To me, this is a unique point here, that this lot is very, very small, and of course it's impacted because we were using some of the street, and I see, but I think the public should know that not all those lots along Bristol are up for sale. They have certain ties. Is that correct?
If
to transportation and things like that. Some of those lots we need to be able to store things while we're doing some work.
That's correct. I mean, I think to what Mr. Gabriel mentioned, some of the other parcels, remnant parcels, are next to other remnant parcels where you can assemble something more useful and productive. In this case here, this is not adjacent to anything else that could be assembled. And what we could do to satisfy Councilmember Solorio's inquiry, we could actually come back with an analysis to see if there's anything else out there that fits this description where there isn't much we can do, and we can bring those to you and get authorization to move forward on those. Right,
my comment is just not to mislead the public along all the lots that are down Bristol. That's all.
But I do want to make the clarification, though. All those parcels, even though based off the source of the money, proceeds may need to go to a certain place, it's the authority of the city to sell those parcels, whether they're assembled or not. And again, the value and the use of the property is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, everybody can make the case this is good for this or that, but I'm just talking about creating a process for the city. We have all those vacant parcels. We are responsible for zoning them, for selling them, and having a fair process. And this one is being considered separately from the remaining, I don't know how many there are. There's probably 30 to 60, and we also don't have the profile to see the sizes, shapes, etc. But yet we're doing this as a one-off, and that's the only point that I'm making.
Well, for me, this is common sense just by looking at the diagram.
Right, and so so that is our rationale for bringing this one separately. The other thing is the policy that you're referring to, Councilman Solorio. I brought that back probably beginning. In fact, when we had the interim director Zerschmied, and we've tried to come. We've brought it back a few times, and we've not been able to get traction on this policy. It's an administrative policy, but so right now we've been having other things on the agenda, and so we haven't brought it back just as a matter of scheduling, but it's been ready to go. We'd be happy to bring it back again. Maybe we'll go through the committee and, I don't know what to do at this point, but this one here was unique enough and we wanted to advance it because we really thought we need to start disposing of some of these parcels. I would offer to bring back any others that fall in this category without approaching the property owner, just to bring them here, just to show here's the others. After vetting this, these are unique where they can't assemble, we can't assemble it for anything else, and then we would seek your authority to then approach the adjacent property owner or figure out how to dispose of them. We could do that in the interim.
That might be a good idea. Obviously, everyone's seen the work on Bristol. We want it cleaned up, we want it to be nice, and if we're going to start allowing the sale of some of those parcels, let's at least look at that Bristol Street corridor to see what else may be utility to sell it.
Yeah. So we can get rid of those first. Those that are unique and whatnot, we can at least dispose of them earlier rather than later. And then we'll keep the other ones that require more analysis and review.
I make a motion to approve.
I think we might have a motion and a second. Just
go ahead.
Quick clarification is, for staff. What makes, as I see this, what makes this unique, in addition to the fact that we've got these two remnant parcels that are adjacent and that are irregular shape and might not have much utility, by the widening and the take, so we have a commercial property there at the corner, that southwest corner, Washington and Bristol. In order to widen Bristol, we've taken a portion, we've eliminated, I imagine, a number of parking stalls in that, or we've reduced the parking lot itself. So imagine we've reduced the number of vehicles that can park in that.
That is correct. And the parking lot that is currently there is per a much older standard. This would allow this property owner to bring up the entire site to current Bristol standards. So it would be a beautification at the same time of that whole site. So it's an opportunity to increase the visual aesthetic of that property.
Yeah. And just for in addition to that, the sake of economic development and ensuring that this commercial location has the adequate parking to be able to support the businesses that are there on site. That's one of the other pieces that I see that's unique to this. The need for widening has had now this negative implication on with regard, or this negative impact with reference to reduced now parking for that commercial site. So that's part of the other reasons because that I see merit for this, because our action as a city to widen has had impact on that property and business, and again want to be able to see that economic development take place. So for that reason, I think I made the motion or second.
Yeah, I think we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I had a comment.
Go ahead.
Just for the same reasons that Councilman Solorio stated, I too cannot be supportive. And as well as, I think some of the issues that I have is that I think we've talked about this for several years, and obviously I know the former interim economic and community development director tried to bring the policy forward to us, but I would not be recommending into this council approve that policy. Why we are here, I don't understand. Obviously, I know you're trying to do your job, but this is a decision of the city council here. And as we move forward and I look at all these properties, again, I'm going to go back to, what is a return on investment back to the city? What are we, what are we going to be zoning this for? What value? What is the current condition and the fiscal impacts currently now that the city is generating? Obviously, the current conditions, because it's off the property tax rolls, we generate zero. We're moving forward to sell these properties. Okay, well, what's it going to be zoned, and what is going to be the condition, and what are we going to get back in return per acre, right? And so those are the questions that I ask of you all before we continue to do this. We all know the financial issues that we're having, and let me tell you, there's a big difference between sales tax and property tax. We all know that sales tax is volatile. It moves with market conditions. Property tax, we know that when you're a homeowner or property owner, you don't pay your property tax, what happens? You're going to get a lien, or the bank's going to take it away from you. So we all know that the golden goose is property tax in a city. And we need to make sure that we're getting the best value per acre. We're just not giving up our land just to give it up because someone wants to buy it to do something. And so, again, I'm going back to what can we do as a city to make sure we only have so much land, so many assets. What are we doing with it? You know, and I don't think that we're thinking things through 100%. Because when we sell this off, that's it. And then what? So let's consider all these things. And again, it's not that I'm trying to be a bully here. I'm gone in 2.5 months. I'm trying to do my best to help this city generate revenue. We need the revenue. In 2021, we're going to $85 million in paying out pensions. That is very troubling. That's not enough revenue to sustain. So I just ask us to try to make the right decisions on behalf of the residents of this community. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just two more comments, and then I'll leave it alone for today. I could see that in 2 weeks, if we don't have the support today, I'd be willing to approve this for the economic development reasons, but only if there was an assessment of the rest of Bristol Street, what the parcels are, what the opportunities are, tax implications, whether there's interest. That's part one. Part two is also just messaging. Just last weekend, someone was telling me, hey, there's this empty parcel on Bristol. I'm right next to it. I could use it. Nobody else can use it. You know what I told them? We're trying to find a fair process. We're going to put them all on a list together and sell them together. Little did I know that just a few days later we'd have another special deal for who knows who. And I don't know any of the people, so it's not like if I'm criticizing for or against. But just, you know, that there's that fairness piece that we've been promoting these past several months, and this isn't it. At least if we kind of see a roadmap of where we're going, I'm okay to put this at the front of the line, but you know, we need to have some fairness. Thank you.
If I may address the concerns and the comments I heard today. I'm Fuad Swais, Director of Public Works. We have about 90 parcels along Bristol that will go through the process. The answer that you gave to the constituents is absolutely correct. This particular parcel has only limited uses, and the best and the most efficient use for it that will help, you know, the city, you know, whether it's tax base, is to join it to the adjacent parcel. Even if we come back with a plan for all those 90 parcels, the recommendation will be, for this particular parcel, is to join it with the adjacent one. So, but I agree with you. I've been studying, you know, those parcels, and we want to come up with a plan, comprehensive plan for the entire Bristol corridor. What is the best and the most efficient use for each parcel that will benefit the city, and then present it and sell it as, you know, like, whether it's exactly as a package through a very well studied process, whether to adjacent property owner or to, you know, anyone else that will give us the best deal for the city. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Director, for using common sense on this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right, so we have, did we amend the motion? We're just going to continue it, or what are we going to do? We got it? All right. So those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3 ayes. Those against?
No.
No. Jose?
It's a no. And I think
You're a
it
no?
requires 5 votes.
All right, so it doesn't pass.
I move that we continue for 2 weeks.
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against the continuance? So it's unanimous for 2 weeks. All right. Item 80A. This is a joint session of City Council and the Housing Authority. I would entertain a motion on item 80A.
Motion
So
approved.
moved. Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. Item 85A, I'll call on Mayor Pro Tem Michelle Martinez.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll be very quick because I don't know where the council's at, but as we move forward with the state and the state coming down to give cities money for the homeless issue and for housing. Currently now, we don't have the zoning. We need to be prepared. So when that money does come down the pipeline, that we've identified certain sites. But one of the things as I've been talking to some members of the council and our staff is as we move towards wanting to build attainable housing or dignified housing, I call affordable housing, attainable housing, changing the naming, wanting to make sure that we have attainable housing for all, and then the dignified housing for the homeless. It's important for us as we move forward that when we're asking private developers, in particular like these motel conversions, how do we figure out a way to still meet the needs and wanting to provide the housing that's necessary for those for that vulnerable population and getting them housed, because it's much cheaper, as we all know. But at the same time, there are some financial impacts to the city, because when you take a motel out and someone's purchasing it, and then they're getting federal funds, state or federal funds. You know, typically there can be some covenances, right? It can get off the tax rolls for a period of time. And so I'm wanting our staff that if we do move in this direction to get the zoning, that how do we figure out that whoever is going to look at building this kind of housing, that they continue to partner up with the private sector and look at going beyond just providing just housing for dignified housing, and how can we do mixed use and provide office space. Obviously we need the NGOs to actually provide services, so wouldn't it be cool to have some of these nonprofits lease space in an area like that and having some retail too, because obviously we want folks to shop. So if we were to look at recreating our model and look at this as a prototype and figuring out that where we can generate revenue and having at the bottom retail, second level, some office share space where our NGOs are able to utilize that space and still provide services to the homeless population, and then above have the housing for the homeless. I believe that's the new direction that we need to take in cities if we want to continue to be sustainable and continue to provide that kind of housing. Because if you want to do a standalone project, you know, there's a lot of financial implications back to the city, and we've been very generous, and we talked about that yesterday, and we need to move beyond being generous as a city, because if you look at South County and other cities, they're not that generous. But we have a heart. We want to do right, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are also generating revenue to help sustain those kinds of projects. And so I would just ask my colleagues, as this money comes down the pipeline, we really do need to consider identifying one or two sites, because I made it very clear to our staff that we're almost there at meeting the need. We've just recently done the Orchard. We just approved right now Jamboree Housing to do the veterans. You know, we can't house everyone permanently here, and I think all my colleagues agree to that, but we still have some work to do. And if we're going to want to get that money from the state, we need to be ready. And unfortunately, right now, we are not ready to receive that money because we don't have the zoning for those properties. And the last thing that we want is for Jamboree, if they do choose to come back and apply, how long it took them. You know, it took them 6 months to a year to go through this process, and now 2 to 3 years to get their funding. You know, by the time they build, you know, we're 5 years in. We need the housing yesterday. And so we need to be creative. So, Mr. Mayor, I brought this forward because Los Angeles is already positioned to receive their funding. They've already zoned, and they're ready to go. So when that money comes down from the state, you know, they're ready to take.
All right, let's see what other feedback we have. So I just wanted to bring that to
the attention of my colleagues, because it is going to be coming down.
I would suggest we direct staff to come back with a plan as to how we identify these sites, so if the money comes, we know what we're doing.
Correct, yeah. That's all I'm asking.
So can that, in essence, be a motion? Let's see if there's support for your motion.
Make a motion to ask staff to prepare some information that can be brought back to the city council in regards to identifying 1 or 2 sites and what that will look like. And also if they can also provide us some financial you know, what are those grants, some support that's coming down from the state will be very valuable, and how much money the city could actually receive would be fantastic as well.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed?
I'd like to just, I'll support with comment. We took action tonight. I wanted to get Well, there was a Jamboree housing, but no, I thought in general to be able to position ourselves to receive funds from the state for.
Yes, that was a declaration of local sheltering emergency or crises, and that would be in order to receive the one-time monies that Mayor Pulido and the other top 11 mayors lobbied for. That's what that resolution would allow us to do.
Okay.
That's one-time monies, but we have to be prepared to be able to receive it.
Okay.
She's talking about
additional dollars or funds. So again, I'm supportive. Definitely makes sense for us to position ourselves. The one thing, the balance that I would like to make sure that we're also looking at is that Santa Ana, we are a compassionate city. We've been taking lead from permanent supportive housing, a number of other projects that we have taken action on, supported, provided zoning for, provided funds for, and at the same time, as we potentially look at identifying other zones, want to make sure that we already did SB2 number of years back for areas, commercial areas within the city where shelters and such could be allowed to establish by right. Just want to ensure that we have a balance and are not making ourselves the capital of some of these the homeless services throughout the county. That we, again, it's shared. So just something for us to be mindful of going forward. Again, supportive of the idea, position ourselves and be ready for funds, but I also want to make sure that there's a balance.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed, motion carries. Now we're going to recess, and I believe, Madam Clerk, go to the Housing Authority meeting. So I will entertain a motion. And on number 2, I would want to include Councilmember Vince Sarmiento under excused absences, and make sure that also includes the rest of the council meeting.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. That's on items 1 through 4. Those in favor, actually, let's go ahead and go all the way through 5. Those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed, motion carries. Seeing no Housing Authority comments, let me right now, just before we leave completely, 85A, Robert Seglin, and they just want to speak on 85A. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Pulido and respectful Santa Ana City Council meeting. If you give me more time, I will.
All right, give more time so you can put a no at the end of the name. All right, you got a green again. Now let's hear it loud and clear.
Okay. Pulido.
See, he can say it. He can do that. Go ahead.
My name is Ilya Tseglin. Also, I am running for Irvine City School Board. I am a professional mathematician receiving master's degree from prestigious European university, but I don't want to tell about this part. I want to tell about more important part for my life and my family. It's connected with agenda. I consider that Santa Ana City Council is a very important city, important your work. And when my son Nate keep in isolation in group home in Santa Ana, tortured, exterminated by director of Orange County Regional Center, Larry Landauer, his praxis, director of DDS, Nancy Bergman, owner and money laundering conman, Luis Peña, psychiatrist, capo Rafael Waknin, for personal profiteering from public funding. That's why I'm coming here. That I want to talk to the public. Is a two world. One is a decent people, another world with people like I listed. The connection of Agenda 85.8, I support the agenda for supportive housing because it's for poor. It's for people who need it. But I do not consider that Santa Ana has to have such places as a group home when people are captured, exterminated in eugenic, enforced sterilization program by euthanasia, disabled, poor, minorities is disgusting. My son Robert is going to provide more sophisticated details and language because it's my not first language, English. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Gerard.
Hello, Honorable Santa Ana City Council, Robert Seglin, brother of Nate Seglin. Related to this item regarding an emergency ordinance regarding homeless people, if you recall a connection between a federal judge, what's luckily, at least he gave some orders on behalf of homeless people who are allegedly either mistreated or their belongings were taken away or they were arrested. I guess it was directed to the board regarding the sheriffs. I guess it would be also regarding the Santa Ana City Council regarding police officers to make sure that they wouldn't too much abuse their power regarding homeless individuals, regarding their rights, first illegal searches and seizures and so forth. The connection in the case of my brother was that the illegal searches and seizures occurred when he was in his residence. So how much more invasive that could be considered, although, which is the discussion, which is why, what to reinforce that the board's jurisdiction in the matter of the sheriff. Of course, it's the public defender, that's the board, but my father might have alluded to regarding the officers, although they're not, definitely not, they're not judges and lawyers, but nevertheless, there's certain limited things such as checking on the welfare of an individual like my brother is alleged, not only physical abuse but seizures and EPS, and maybe allowing officers to enforce investigations, medical investigations and so forth. This, of course, I agree that the Board of Supervisors is quite culpable in this area, but I would be supportive of such an ordinance on behalf of the homeless, and also, move in the direction of trying to do investigations on the case of individuals who are confined, particularly my brother in Santa Ana, 903 South Harmon Group Home. So you can look at the probate case A246780, that's in the probate court, and you would be able to get a sense, hopefully, to be able to resolve this together with the board, obviously, because this is in the court. This is a conservatorship matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Now I'm going to direct our attention to the successor agency meeting and entertain a motion on items 1 through 4.
So moved.
Those in favor, please say aye. 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 The opposed motion carries. 4 was actually comments, and there are none, so let's go on to a brief redesigned city website preview, please.
They've done a good job.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. As you're aware, the IT department has been working for some time now to upgrade the website and implement a web content management system. And I'm really excited about this project because I think that the website is so instrumental into allowing the residents and visitors to access and interact with the city, whether they're just getting information or doing business with the city, whether it's on a PC, a laptop, a tablet, or even a cell phone. And unfortunately, the tools the city is currently using for their website are very limited, and makes it difficult for staff to keep the data current, to keep the information viable and relevant to what's going on. And so this new web content management system is really going to put us up to the point where we need to be to give better information. We're fortunate enough to have a good partner help us on this, 360 Civic, and we have Ron Zayas, the CEO of 360 Civic, here today, and he's here to give you a quick sneak peek preview at our website so that he can tell you a little bit more information about what we did and why we did it. Ron?
Thank you for your time today, and I will be brief. I know you've had a long night. Up on the screen, we have the new presentation of the website. couple of things about it. I mean, it does have a much more modern design. It has a cleaner look to it. It pops with the colors from the city. It has a nice white background, and it's designed to use a lot of the photography, a lot of the beautiful scenes and photography that can be from Santa Ana to be used throughout the site. Also uses photography and icons to be able to help people who have different language skills to be able to see what the key things are. But more important than even how it looks are the new features that are on the website. For example, up at the top, we condensed down the menus, and the menus we'll be using allow people to get to the most popular features of the website within one click. It also helps explain some of the services. So rather than saying something like planning, it'll say, how to get a permit to build a house, how to get a permit to start a business or get a business license, things like that. So it's much more explanatory to allow people to interact more with the website. And all of this, by the way, is built not only on the analytics of what was going on with our current website, but on social media and other types of surveys that we did before we even started on this. Also at the top, if you can notice up here, next to the search bar, we have a language menu. It'll allow people to select their favorite menu or their favorite language and what they're most comfortable with. If we have something that's very important, it'll be professionally translated. If not, and they've selected another language like Spanish or Tagalog or Vietnamese, it'll show the page using Google Translate to at least be able to give them a much more friendly feel to the website. The website is also completely mobile friendly. 45% of the traffic for the city of Santa Ana comes from mobile devices. And based upon the demographics of the city, we've made this very simple, not only in the main design, but to keep moving forward as new content is added. We've also moved in here our top services so that people are able to come through and do the things that are most popular in the website from one click, whether it's make a payment or report an issue, something like graffiti, or be able to look for permits or for parks and library. They're one click away from getting to the most popular areas. We've also created an area for notifications on the right, so things like street closures or if a bus route is being interrupted or something for schools, these can be put up almost immediately, and they'll be very important and be able to show off to the people in the city immediately what's happening and what's important to the city. We also have emergency banners that aren't shown here but can be activated with a cell phone from authorized individuals. So if there's an earthquake, if there's some type of fire, if there's some type of emergency, we can quickly tell people in the city where they need to go or where shelter might be or what they need to do. And because the website is redundant and held off of here, it isn't affected by things that would be locally happening here. Moving a little bit further on, we have our featured content area. This is where we can put stories about the city, a nice big visual. We can talk about things like fiestas that are going on or anything new that's going on in the city and highlight it very prominently on the website and also with search engines. And then below it, we have areas to be covering stories that might be of interest. It may not be the most featured story, but it's a visual, it has words, it lets somebody click into and find more about it. On the side, we have our events, and these are events that are not only curated by the communications department, but the individual departments can say, I have an important event and I'd like to have it show up on the home page along with my department page, and that information will be there. And to keep it current, it's very easy for them to add it. And more importantly, when it is added, it'll automatically go on the right date and come off when it's outdated. So the website is always looking fresh and pertinent to people to get them to come back. As we go down a little further, we'll have all of our social media feeds here, and these will be real-time feeds that will be coming in from the city properties for social media, so very prominent to allow people to see what's going on in the city. And then our section, which we're very proud of, our Santa Ana section. This is where we create content that brings in all the different content from the website in an area that's more relevant and how people can identify themselves. One of these boxes, for example, is residents. So if I'm a resident, what do I need to know? I need to know about garbage collection, or I need to know about paying my water bill, or I need to know how do I interact with the city, or what's events. These all lead to landing pages that bring all the resources from the website together from the point of view of a resident, or a business owner, or of youth, or of recreation, or education. So it allows us to bring the hundreds of thousands of pages that we have on the website today in a way that is more nicely organized for the city and for the citizens of the city. And we can have as many of those as possible. Underneath it, we also have interactive maps. People can come in now and choose a category and say, I want to see all the fitness locations here in Santa Ana. Or I could look for businesses, or I could look for libraries and parks. And it's an interactive Google map, so they can then get directions for it. They can zoom in, they can see what's around it, see pictures. All of that's easily done from your new website. If I may just show you two other quick things.
When's my dashboard coming?
I'm sorry?
The dashboard, is that coming next?
Yes, well, and I'll show you the dashboard as far as, I'm sorry, to be more specific.
Just so that for data, so if people wanted to get reports,
Well, let me.
eventually coming.
I was going to show you the library, but if you give me 2 seconds, let me show you the library real quickly, and then I'll show you that dashboard. Here's a landing page for library services. Again, uses very visual images along with wording and clean buttons for people to be able to come in, see exactly what they want, see clean information on the library, when is it open, who's our contact, if I need to do for any department, how do I contact with them, and then be able to see all the services that are here. And all of this is built on a content management system. So what that means is that people from the library get to update their own information. People from the police department get to update their own information. And they do it in real time, as simple as using Word. They don't need to know HTML, they don't need to know programming, and it doesn't all have to funnel through one department in the city. It makes up-to-date information much easier to get up to the website. And then finally, to show our open government transparency, something you've been talking about here throughout, we have created a portal for open government. And this allows us to take data in lots of different formats. For example, we have outside services like GIS, where we can click on through here and it'll take us to all the GIS services. We'll be adding a button here soon for all the police department OpenGov, and these will also be spread out through the departments. And then we can break into individual areas like business permits and be able to show how people can come through here, see active businesses, see exactly the information that they want and when it was updated, and either download that information or sort through it right here on screen and see what's there. This can be police information, this can be housing information, this could be permitting information, anything the city wants. We've not only created the portal of how to show it, we've created an engine for how to take data from lots of different sources and make it available to other people. In short, there's a lot of new things on this website. We've been doing training for 3 days. We've been working on this for months. We are moving toward a soft launch, and I'll leave that for the staff to explain further. But the main thing here is I think you have a lot of people who are excited about the kind of information that they can provide and take a lot of the work that you're doing here and publicize it in the best way in the benefit of everybody who lives in Santa Ana. I appreciate your
If I
time.
can take council comments, please, Mayor Pro Tem.
I just want to be thank you. Thank you, Jack. Thank you to your staff. Thank you to our city manager and the various agencies. I know we've been working on this for a long time. When we brought you on, Jack, as the Chief Innovation Officer, I know people were like, well, what are you trying to do here? Why are you trying to bring somebody like this? And this is the reason being, not only that internally, what you're doing to secure our systems and integrate these systems, they matter. What happens in here internally, we cannot do our job externally. And more importantly, as we say that we want to be transparent, obviously at times the data that we currently have, people have to come to City Hall where our clerk is bombarded and trying to get information out. If we're able to streamline that and put this in a format where folks can actually get their own reports, that only makes the lives of our employees much easier to go and do the other things that you all need to do. And so thank you to your entire team. I really greatly appreciate it, and I know our residents are going to appreciate this new website. I'm excited for the launch. And again, just thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, Councilor Loyo?
Yes, likewise, good work. It looks fantastic, and I'm sure we'll all enjoy looking at it and playing with it. I do know that on our current website, we do have some open data features also, although they are limited. That's one of the big priorities for me. I know Anaheim has a very robust open data platform on their website. For for the sections that you mentioned, particularly public safety, that I'm the most interested in, is the data that we'll find via our current search tool as comprehensive as if I were to click the same functions in the Anaheim website?
Yes, I think you'll find it very comparable to the, I'm sorry. I think you'll find it very comparable. I think you'll find not only in the first iteration that it's extremely comparable, but I think when you see the direction that the staff and everybody is moving toward and the tools that they now have to do it, you're going to be, it's going to be a tool that's going to continue to grow and be very, very usable to people. Okay. Let me just say that we've worked with large cities like the city of San Diego. I just want to do a quick shout out. This staff has been the most motivated staff that we've worked with. They've been involved in every single step. It has been a pleasure for us to do this website because of the excitement of the main staff and of all the other people we've been training and working with it. So I appreciate that.
Okay. And I understand too, this is kind of the version where we're starting it, but it'll add and grow, and staff and others will get better at using it, adding functions to it. Another big benefit to a stronger public safety search element is right now there's a lot of independent crime databases out there, and they're not always accurate, or they don't really sync data well with our police department, and we'll get complaints about some of those crime mapping tools elsewhere not being active. So that's another big reason for getting this right, because in this town and many, that's extremely important.
And if I may, part of what you've done with building this foundation is that you become the definitive source through Google. I think you're going to see your numbers go up significantly. So when people are searching outside of your website for information on Santa Ana, you will become a much more relevant search on all the different topics, which help lends to exactly what you're talking about, that people will come here for accurate information rather than being led to other places.
Great, thank you so much.
One of the things to point out too is the police department just recently implemented a new records management system that they didn't have before, and our intent is to be able to pull information out of that system to make available, whether it's through dashboards or raw data. But we're working with the police department, but they're still fine-tuning the rollout of the RMS. But as that gets more mature, it'll tie right in with our system.
And it'll get better. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We've got a couple more comments, and we have 8 speakers for our public comment. Quick comment, Councilman Benavides?
Mayor, just a couple things. One is wanted to thank staff for their work on one of the priorities of the council has been transparency, access to information, accessibility for City Hall, and this, through this, using technology to be able to make us more available and accessible. So I want to thank staff for their work, and Jack and your team and the rest of the staff. Clearly, accolades here from our contractor, but knowing that you're motivated and helping us to be able to support and serve our residents is much appreciated. So thank you for that. One question that I do have is 2 things. One is we're finalizing, we got a note, an update from the city manager on Friday with regard to the branding study and the completion of that here coming pending. I know part of that is design, part of that is just our messaging and image. Will that be incorporated in how we present our image even on the website? Has that been factored and considered? There's been some dialogue around that.
Yeah, when we had started this project, the intent actually was that the branding study would be done before we got into the design of it, and Ron probably remembers that. But when we realized the branding study wasn't going to be done, we had to move forward with the design using sort of our current branding, our current colors and all that. But the beauty of a content management system is the data and the presentation of it are separate. So we could go through, and if the branding study comes out to where we're going to be changing colors or logos or whatever, we could easily make those changes without having to redo all the data, and it'll just present it differently. So with this tool, we're going to be much better equipped to incorporate any of that new branding study into the website.
That's great. That's good to know. I've been a part of the branding process as some of my colleagues, and I think when it comes to colors and other, I think there's intentionality in the part of the designer, so that there will be some consistency, and hopefully it'll make it they'll create some ease so that we can update and refresh some of the artistic content, the website to be able to be consistent with the overall messaging. That's what will make the brand implementation successful, right? So with that consistency. And the other is just a comment. I do appreciate the opportunity, as you've mentioned, at several areas to be able to highlight the current events, the positive activities that are taking place within the city. More so, in my mind, over crime data and information and such, it's important to have accurate information in that regard. However, using this is a mode and medium of communication, immediate access to not only our residents but the broader public. It appears that there's going to be more opportunity for us to highlight all of the great and positive things that are taking place in the city and provide, again, current and up-to-date information. So appreciate that feature as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now, if I may, let me call Raul Nolasco, Gisela Hernandez, followed by Peter Katz, Dale Helsvig. Please, Raul.
It's great to be here. I'm here to discuss a topic. The topic is protecting the library from cyber attack. The U.S. president talked about a rapidly changing economy. So if the economy is changing quickly, then people from this city need to be able to keep up. Otherwise, the economy is just getting way faster and we can't keep up because there's a cyber attack. Keep Santa Ana great and protect the library from cyber attack. Obviously at the highest level and on a global scale, everybody unleashes American energy. There's Ivy League elite, Harvard, Yale. So if they're performing at a rigorous pace and there's cyber attacks at the library, then Santa Ana gets left behind. Keep Santa Ana great and protect the library against cyber attack. Also, the military has recently expanded. Now the Marines can secure the nation against cyber attack. So America's secure at the cyber level, and Santa Ana must also be secure at the cyber level. Otherwise, we're not keeping up with the government at the highest level. Keep Santa Ana great and protect the library against cyber attack. The worst case is that billionaires, presidents, and kings are basically just going to keep amassing more wealth, performing at a higher level, and Santa Ana kind of gets sluggish and faces a speed bump against cyber attack. Keep Santa Ana great and protect the library against cyber attack. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Gisela Hernández y la razón que me encuentro aquí es...
Deje que la otra persona le traiga el traductor. Va a hablar en español, ¿verdad?
Sí.
I'm going to have a wait until our translator comes down. Meanwhile, okay, go ahead. Empiece, ya viene. Más cerca el micrófono, por favor. Go ahead.
Ok, el motivo de la razón de estar aquí es que yo soy una comerciante de aquí de Santa Ana y estamos experimentando muchos problemas en nuestro lugar de negocio y la razón es que estamos teniendo muchos incidentes con gente homeless, exacto, y nos han agredido, han llegado a pegarme a mí, han llegado a pegarle a mi esposo por evitar que nos roben. Siempre están entrando a nuestro negocio a agarrar cualquier cosa cuando tenemos los clientes y como un negocio de comida nos afecta porque no se ve bien que estén entrando ese tipo de personas con las manos sucias, no sabemos cómo, y pues los demás clientes que están al lado pues molesta y nos afecta, estamos perdiendo clientes. Ahora hacemos el reporte con la policía, se los llevan, no pasa nada. Hemos tenido casos en corte, pero no nos dan una solución, nos han dañado la puerta y no hemos recibido de regreso ese dinero la reparación de nuestro negocio. Entonces ahora la otra cosa es que estamos experimentando es que tenemos mucha droga en el lugar. Tenemos una licor al lado, entonces ellos les venden licor y los dejan tomar ahí durante el tiempo que quieran. Se juntan 10, 15 personas a tomar. Aparentemente su apariencia es como si fuera una cantina ahí porque no les dicen nada. Entonces nos quejamos con el dueño de la licor, nos quejamos con la dueña del shopping center, no hace nada, llamamos a la policía, no pasa nada y estamos siendo afectados como negociantes de la ciudad. y pues no encontramos qué hacer. Entonces mi razón de venir es aquí. Queremos una solución, queremos que nos apoyen. Entonces también otra cosa es que yo traigo evidencias de todos los incidentes que hemos tenido, de las agresiones que hemos tenido, y en respuesta cuando nos quejamos a la policía, en respuesta cuando reportamos a la gente vendiendo droga, nos ponen clavos en las llantas, nos rayan los vidrios, nos agreden.
If Deputy Chief Kaminsky, if you could come, maybe get a translator, but I think you can help her a lot, and go ahead and tell us what she said. Mire, el señor que está ahí para el oficial, él le va a ayudar, vaya y hable con él. Gracias por venir, la estamos escuchando.
Ok, también quisiera...
Ya se acabó el tiempo, pero gracias.
And I'm here, my name is Giselle Hernandez. I'm here because I'm a business owner in Santa Ana, and we've been having problems in our business. There's incidents with homeless. We've been attacked by the homeless. They've hit me, they've hit my husband, because we tried to prevent them from coming into our store and stealing from us. And they enter our business, they're dirty, they have dirty hands, and when they handle our food, our business gets affected by that. Our other clients and customers see that, and they don't know what to think, and they're turned away by their presence. We filed police reports and nothing happens. They've damaged our doors. We haven't received any reimbursement for that damage. There's also a drug issue. Next to us, there's a liquor store, and there's people buy alcohol there, and there's 10 to 15 people lying around there just loitering, and then this affects our business as well. We've complained to the liquor store owner. They don't do anything. We complained to the management. They don't do anything. The police doesn't do anything, and nothing happens. It just looks like there's an open bar over there. We don't know what to do, so please help us with that. I have proof of the attacks that we've suffered, and as a response, a retaliation, when we report them, they put nails in our tires and they keep attacking us.
Thank you. Peter, followed by Dale, followed by Maria Beltran. Please go ahead, Peter.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. First, I want to just thank Juan and Michelle for recognizing all the veterans. It's greatly appreciated. We fought for this country and made it what it is today, and so that's why we're here tonight. In this city, we have shared values and a common purpose. But what I want to speak about is I'm really concerned about this sales tax increase that's being placed on the ballot in November to raise the sales tax from $7.75 to $9.25. It's really going to hurt this city because the 6 cities that surround Santa Ana will remain at $7.75, with the exception of Garden Grove if their 1% increase passes. Mr. Mayor, you were correct. 1% would have been easier to sell than 1.5%. And it concerns me, if this measure fails on the ballot, do we have a backup plan in this city? Where do we go from here come November if this measure fails? And Michelle, you're right in talking about development and not planning for it. You have a 600-unit complex under construction at the corner of 17th and Harbor, yet the nearest grocery store is in Garden Grove. All that sales tax revenue will go to Garden Grove. So these are some of the things that, are going to hit everybody in the pocketbook, whether you're a small business owner, a property owner, a daredevil on a skateboard, a homeless person, So we need to start thinking about how we're going to deal with our residents. We have employees in this city making $2,000 a day, yet 40% of our residents make less than $2,000 a month. How long can you put it on the back of these taxpayers without them moving out of the city? We're constantly struggling to bring in revenue here, but there is no new direction. There's no voice and value here, and we're just kicking the can down the road. So what happens comes November? Even if you do get this measure passed, how are you going to spend it wisely? Are we going to be in the same boat a couple years from now like we were when we sold off the fire department, when we gave up the ICE contract? We don't have anything to replace this stuff coming in, and that's my concern here, because I have talked to people who have lived here for many years and are looking at moving out of the state, not out of the city, out of the state. So we need to come up with a vision. All this stuff that we put up on the screen, it's nice, but if we can't sell it, other cities are doing it. Tourism is doubling. Anaheim is making
Peter,
money.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dale, followed by Maria Beltran, followed by Mallory Barnes.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. Dale Helvig, North Santa Ana Preservation Alliance. We too are in support of responsible development. We've heard that tonight several times, that we need to do it responsibly and do it right and take our time and make sure we do it right. The draft DIR for 2525 came out on August 7th. We have public comments available to be turned in before September 20th. City Planning Department on Monday will present to this Planning Commission the draft environmental impact report in a very high-level presentation. They'll also follow that up with a work study on 2525 project. We are looking forward to that night. There will be people from the North Santa Ana Preservation Alliance, people from Washington Square, Floral Park, West Floral Park, all showing up to show support against this project. So I think at this point in time, because the draft environmental impact report is out, that you guys can now ask questions and voice your concerns, if I remember what the city attorney said a few meetings ago. So I'm hoping that you guys do take the time to voice your concerns and speak up about this project. Take a look at the environmental impact report, see what it has to offer. On another note, Mr. Solario got on Nextdoor and said that he was going to be researching the issue on RV parking in the city. So we appreciate that. There's been a lot of talk in the North Santa Ana area on that issue, and we look forward to seeing that answer as well. Thank you.
Maria? Mallory Barnes, followed by Susan Santan.
Buenas tardes. Mire, yo vengo del mismo caso de la señora del mismo shopping center. Yo tengo salón de belleza. Desgraciadamente a mí ya me agredió una de las que están ahí. Llamé a la policía, hicieron el reporte, pero se la llevaron supuestamente, pero en la mañana llegó primero que yo al salón. No puedo tener la puerta abierta porque están los hombres ahí, no dejan. El miedo mío es que si ya me agredieron a mí, pueden agredir a un cliente. Hay niños en el salón de belleza y no se puede trabajar así. Queríamos ver a ver qué nos podían ayudar porque la policía no hace nada. Por lo menos antes venía la policía y les decía que se fueran, se estaba ahí hasta que se fueran. Pero ahora no, ni eso hacen, porque llegan y lo que hacen por el altavoz, le dicen que se vayan y se van. La policía y el joven se quedan ahí y los vagos también. Y eso es el problema que tenemos ahorita. Ya tenemos años con eso. No son ni, yo tengo 32 años en el shopping center. Tenemos como 15 años con ese mismo problema y cada día está peor y peor y peor. Ahora por lo menos, antes no agredían, ahora por lo menos agreden a todo el mundo. Y estamos ahí a expensas de ellos porque no podemos hacer nada. O sea, si la policía no hace nada, menos nosotros. Muchas gracias.
Hable con Robert Cortés and get Deputy Chief Nancy, please. Ahorita va a hablar aquí con un señor y vamos a ayudar.
Muchas gracias. Gracias.
My name is Maria Beltran. I'm here, like the other lady said, regarding the problem with the shopping center with the homeless. I've also been beat by them, hit by them. I have a beauty salon there. We've filed police reports and nothing happens. I have to leave my door closed so they don't come in. They've hit me, and the next thing is they're going to hit my clients or hit children. There's children there, and that's not good. We call the police and they don't do anything. Sometimes they used to come and hush them away, but now they just from their patrol car, they just, from the loudspeaker, they tell them to go and they don't leave. I've been at that business location for 32 years, and for the last 15 years, this has been a problem, and we can't do anything, so please help us.
Thank you. Mallory, come on down, followed by Susan, followed by Gary Thomas. Okay, that's good. We appreciate that. Whatever you are for, we're for. Susan, followed by Gary Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor Polito and members of the council. My name is Susan Simaton, and I live at 601 East Buffalo Avenue in Santa Ana. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you tonight about the proposed apartment structure threatening our neighborhood, the 2525 North Main Street. This structure is going to be detrimental to our Park Santiago neighborhood. High traffic, overcrowding, overuse of the land, and high density. It will destroy our beautiful neighborhood, homes that people have lived in for years and have paid mortgages and taxes, and our neighborhood has a sense of community and fun, and people take pride. My husband Steve and I have lived here in that neighborhood for 44 years, and we raised our family there. I'm speaking and representing for the thousands of residents who live in our neighborhood, as evidenced by the 400 plus people who came to the Sunshine meeting at the Science Discovery Center. We had members from Floral Park, West Floral Park, Morrison Park, plus, of course, Park Santiago. And we also had 180 residents from Park Santiago come to a planning meeting in June 14th, as we are get organized at the First Congregational Church of Santa Ana. My expectation of a city council is to protect established neighborhoods such as ours. Throwing in apartment density will destroy it. I'm citing past history at French Park neighborhood with the high-rise apartments that went in the locality of historic homes, Victorian homes. So please stop and think. Money can't be the only reason for a decision. We have to live with your decision, good or bad. Our Park Santiago is already dealing with more cars coming through and parking, and we're dealing with a very challenging homeless situation. And now having high density thrown into, it's very, very scary. So please stop.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Susan. Gary Thomas.
Two minutes?
Yes, 2 minutes. Go.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for letting me speak. You know, tonight's real concerning because of the homeless problem that we have in Santa Ana, and we're talking about building homes for the homeless. It just seems that we're going to invite more and more here, and then the deal of high density housing. The project on 2525 North Main, I strongly oppose. There is the Innovates Charter School that they're looking at putting on 17th. I oppose that. And also, it's really disgusting that First and Lion Street, we've got a project going and they removed 50% of the street parking. The people that live around that area get up in the morning, go to work. They live in a high density area, and they are going to be greatly impacted by that unit that's being built there at the old Saddleback Inn. Traffic is atrocious. We've been picketing on Main Street, and I've been driving up and down Main Street, and cars are exiting off the 57 freeway at Orangewood, driving down Main and entering back on the freeway at Main to avoid the jam there. The CHP even does that, and semis. People trying to get out of the city to go to work. We need to stop high-density housing throughout the city, not only in my neighborhood, but throughout the city. And thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Ms. City Manager, anything to report?
I'd like to just give an update on the Willowwick Vision Plan. There are 3 community vision workshops that will be hosted by the cities of Santa Ana and Garden Grove for residents and stakeholders to provide input on the plan. The very first workshop will be held on August 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Goodwill Industries, a facility located at 410 North Fairview. The information gathered from the 3 workshops will be used to create the final vision plan for future uses at this site. Also, the Santa Ana Police Department is embarking on a community input process for their new policing philosophy, and they also will be having community meetings. They're looking at 5 community sessions. The very first will be scheduled for August 30th from 6 to 7:30 at the Santa Ana Police Department's Athletic and Activity League office located at 2627 West McFadden Avenue. And it'll be the first of 5. And then earlier today, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Santa Ana Work Center facility, and Councilmember Slaughter was there to help with the festivities. It's a partnership with EDD and various other agencies. It's also the very first one that has social services as part of this. They have training rooms and whatnot, and I encourage all of you to visit. But there was a great turnout, over 100 people there today for the ribbon cutting. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Saltinajero, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a great ribbon cutting today here. I was not able to attend because I was at work, but I heard that there were very many staffers that were excited. We had some council members there, so I appreciate that. There was also ribbon cutting over at Valley High School, where they opened up their brand new building, 28 new classrooms, state-of-the-art classrooms there, fully wired. Those are just a couple of things to bring up during this time, is that there are things happening in our city that are improving the quality of life of our residents, our children, our educational system. I believe that as we start moving towards the election cycle, individuals are going to start to really pinpoint on the negatives in our community. But the fact is, we always have to be mindful and give credit to the positive things that are happening and the hard work that many of our staff members and council members on this dais are also doing to improve the lives of the residents. We live here too, so we want to make sure that the quality of life is a good one for everybody. And with that, I'll close, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for that, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start off because I know we had a special meeting on the homeless situation and being really close to this issue. I think I've put my entire effort and priority on this issue for these past several months, and trying to figure out where do we move from here. And I want to be honest, and I want to commend my colleagues for staying strong and realizing that something has to happen. And you know, we have this position or these assumptions that we make that, one, we assume that if we do nothing, that the other cities are going to do their job. We have this other assumption that if we don't do a shelter, that possibly the problem is going to go away. The reality is things are getting worse. If you have not seen the special Dateline as it pertains to the City of Angels in Los Angeles, if you have not seen that, you know, my eyes are still hurting from watching that and seeing what those folks are experiencing. But this is close to home, and this is not, and Mr. Katz spoke very articulate about the issues of the working poor that are one paycheck from being homeless. And more importantly, we've talked about the issues of rent control and what now that is causing across the state of California and possibly repealing Costa-Hawkins. There are unintended consequences for those things, and those are short-term fixes. And let me tell you why, because you have all these equity firms coming in, buying apartment buildings, and guess what they're going to do? They are going to displace people and increase the rent. So how is anything that we are trying to do going to help solve the problems? Yes, there are times that we're not comfortable of speaking our truth and wanting to address issues, because I understand that most people, we're creatures of habit. We have our own values, our beliefs. We're our own structure, our own system, that when we're trying to take something and make change, it's not the change, it's the loss. I get that. But when we're addressing this homeless issue, and particularly what's happening in this downtown, and I said it earlier, we have one fire. And I hope and I pray that that doesn't happen. But we've been very close already. If that happens, we are done. And I asked our city manager, do you know, and I mentioned it earlier, what our assessed value is. Our real estate here is worth $26 billion. One fire. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If we don't figure out a way to address this homeless and get these folks off our street and into shelters and into permanent supportive housing, what you value, your property, guess what? Those property values are going to go down. So we have a responsibility and an obligation to do what we can to protect the assets of this community. And so I just ask this community that when you come and tell us that we don't want something in our backyard, I get the loss. But understand that we have to figure out a way to make this happen, because if we don't, everyone is going to suffer. And Mr. Mayor, I know my time is up. I just wanted to, wanting to get an update, because I know this has gone before public safety, is the cyber cafes and the gaming, what's occurring. Wanting to ask our city attorney if staff has come to them as it pertains, or our public safety committee, as reviewing the current ordinance that we have on the books, and if we're going to have any options to move forward with either banning or providing more restrictions on this. I am hearing that, whether it's coffee shops, whether it's at subways, this is a massive issue. There's prostitution, there's gaming. This is another big issue. And more importantly, we cannot just have our code enforcement addressing this. These are serious issues, public safety issues, and wanting to get an update and how our police department is going to partner up with the code enforcement department to help address this. And so those are my comments, Mr.
Can
Mayor.
we please just prepare a memo and get it to the council, the Mayor Pro Tem and the council? Councilor Solorio, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few quick things. First, kudos to everybody on opening the new work center across the street at 801 West Civic Center. It's excellent. I know we have a 5-year lease there, and maybe if there's still an empty floor at City Hall 5 years from now, we may consider bringing it into the City Hall so we can get full use here rather than renting space elsewhere. Regarding Willowick, thank you for the update. I am still saddened that this process that we're on is pretty slow, and we have the streetcar coming and the need for a lot of improvements and other things in that area. I would ask that the staff that's working on this, that we continue to figure out how we can really do some of the outreach with some master development and other financial assessments so we can move that along quicker. If not, we're going to have a streetcar going from end to end and nobody getting on or getting off, and that's going to be very unfortunate, and that's a very big parcel that we can do something with. On the issue of cyber cafes, there have been a number of complaints on a few specific sites, particularly on 17th Street, and I think code enforcement, PD, and general staff have been looking at that, and I know at least through the notable communications, I think the staff did send a mini update to the council, not a thorough one, but a mini update on the kind of assessments that we're going to do citywide to make sure we properly restrict them. I think to our knowledge, the one on 17th Street, we haven't seen a lot of outright illegal or really bad activities, but we definitely need to keep monitoring them and enforcing them all equally. We have been getting questions about RV policies, and on my social media, I'll be giving updates on my findings on that. Finally, that this week was Welcome Back Week at Santa Ana Unified, so I congratulate all the students and the teachers and the classified that hopefully survived their first week and are doing well. And I also want to thank Councilmember Tinajero for his service to our children at Santa Ana Unified, and so thank you with that.
Thank you. Councilor Villegas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will first start off with a report from the Youth Education and Community Service Committee we had that took place on July 23rd this year. We spoke about the extended pool hours. We got that going throughout the city pools. Also, we got an update on the citywide volunteer program through Human Resources for our youth. I also asked for a report on the maintenance on all those dead trees over at Centennial Park, things like 90 plus dead trees we need to address, and an update on the park rangers. I also would like to thank Chief Valentin and the city manager and assistant to the city manager, Jorge Garcia, today for joining me with at a tour over at the Orange County Family Justice Center. You all know that I'm trying to bring one of those centers here. I will accomplish that mission. We will bring it here so we can bring services to all the domestic violence victims. We will address elder abuse cases, all the sexual assault cases, and the child abuse cases that are here. I hate to say this, but it's very much needed here in this city. Anaheim cannot handle. They only address the cases that take place over there. And one more thing, a few weeks ago we had that incident where the plane crashed, and I want to thank Orange County Fire Authority and the Santa Ana Police Department and the Orange County Sheriff's Department, who sent a whole bunch of deputies out to help us with the scene. I went out there to the site of the plane crash, and it was very unfortunate what happened. It was terrible. My condolences to the families of the people that lost their lives that day, but it was good to see the cooperation among the agencies working, and I wrote a letter to the sheriff to thank her for sending all those deputies to come out, because the scene was very large, and we did not have the personnel here at the PD to contain, so they sent people from John Wayne Airport and from North Operations, and I thank them. And that's what I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Benavides.
And thank you, Councilman, for attending. I know you were there.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good, just in a piggyback off that, it's good to know when we need it, we can count on police services from other agencies, and sheriff in particular, to support our work here. A couple of comments. Want to thank staff for one of the items that we talked about, or that we took action on today, was the working on the ENA for 3rd and Broadway. Yesterday, the Economic Development and Budget Committee, the council met, and one of the items that we discussed there was the RFP for the YMCA building. A couple of large projects there that we have been working on. I think when we went back and looked at, it's been at 6+ years. We were looking at putting out an RFP on a couple of these properties that the city's been holding on to for several decades. So just want to thank city manager and the staff for moving some of these forward. Willowwick is another one that we've been discussing for at least a decade, and so to see that moving forward. The Metro East mixed-use overlay zone, hopefully we'll be able to get that addressed, and again in a couple weeks. And the idea is that there is a lot of opportunity here in the city for economic development, to bring investment into the city. It needs to be one of the top priorities, and appreciate the fact that the city's moving in that direction, and making that a priority. Along with that, just want to encourage us to also continue to be mindful of there's the economic development, and there's also the development of our people, our young people. Some of the basics. I know we're going through a process of search for a Parks and Rec director, but the ideas of recreation programs for our youth. There have been some immediate actions that have taken place to be able to activate our pools, as was referenced, and definitely appreciate that. It doesn't go, even though it's a small, seemingly a small action, but the message that it sends, that we are investing in and prioritizing our families, our youth, and making sure that they have access and full use of the facilities that the city has, is an important message. And investing in our young people, looking at all other opportunities. We've been discussing other improvements around parks, skate parks. The Youth Commission activating and supporting, or continue to activate and support the Youth Commission, our youth leaders there, is all a positive thing. So I just want to send the message of that we see that and we appreciate that. A lot of positive things going on in the city. I want to highlight Santa Ana Zoo and the Zoofari, the annual event taking place this Saturday at the zoo. It's always a great event. Looking forward to being there with my kids this weekend. I just want to encourage the community to come out and celebrate and be a part of that. Support our city and to shop in the city, support economic development, local jobs, and every chance we get, spend your tax dollars here in the city of Santa Ana. It goes a long way. And with that, I also have a...
let me make a comment, then I'll turn the meeting back over to you at the end for the memory of Manny Moreno. And the comment, this more to the city manager and our deputy chief. I want to see if we can come up with an interim way of working, because I believe we're about to come up with a settlement, and for our city attorney as well, with the court as it relates to Judge Carter and the plaintiffs and the lawsuits. And so the minute we put together a plan, I know we're not going to be able to implement it right away. Even if you're trying to get a building, you're trying to bring in cots, you're trying to do stuff. Well, what I'm driving at is that the judge has said that once we have a plan and we're exempt from the lawsuit, that we can begin to enforce the law. And what I'm talking about is that some of these homeless are flat out criminals. I mean, some might be down in their luck and they're trying to find a job, but others are just, mean people that are, terrorizing our community. They're coming into our homes, they're coming into our businesses, they're stealing things, and they know we can't do anything because we've got this lawsuit over our head. Just for the general public, in case you don't know, some time back we arrested 7 homeless individuals, and they got together in a group. They came back, they had lawyers, well-meaning, but, pro bono lawyers, and they sued us. And I forgot the exact amount, but I think it was close to $700,000 that the city had to pay out for arresting 7 individuals because we violated their rights. I mean, it's absurd. But the reason I'm voicing this is it's very frustrating for all of us up here, to be in this position, in this situation where we really can't help ourselves. So what I'm suggesting is that maybe through the city attorney, the minute we have a settlement, we can have some type of an interim agreement with the court so we can start enforcing our laws again. And while we're doing the shelters, while we're doing everything else, some of these folks belong in jail. Some, the minute we start to harass them and get tougher with them, are going to move out of town and go harass another town, and that would not be a terrible thing. So let's try to figure out what we can do, Madam City Attorney. I know this is funny, but it's also very serious. So let's try to figure out what we can do. All right?
By the way,
and
Mr.
with that, pardon?
Mr. Mayor, I believe during that lawsuit, after they received the money, great majority of that group that sued us ended up drinking themselves to death or ODing in motel rooms, and that's where the money went.
No, and it's sad. It's taxpayer money, and because we try to do something good, we get in trouble. One comment, and then I'm going to have Councilmember close.
Yes, sorry, but I do think it's an important clarification. I don't know that the city is banned from enforcing any of our anti-camping ordinances. We have been enforcing various elements. I think we're just very careful about how and what and how much and notice, but going forward, if we don't address our issue, definitely I could see that they would not allow us to enforce. We also need more resources, but maybe if our city attorney could, clarify what the situation is.
I would just like to clarify for the record that we have been continuing to enforce our regulations because we aren't enjoying. What the real trick there, what's really been the biggest challenge is the law says that before we can take someone into custody, we have to give them the option of going to a shelter or having a bed. And that's been the trick. It's building those shelter spaces so that our police officers, which they're doing a great job of, they call all the available places to see if there's a bed. And if an individual does not take that bed and refuses to, then we are. But we are citing, I can't tell you the number now, but at the last count I had like 86 of them that we are continuing to cite where we can.
See, we could do 86 a day.
Yes, just for mass enforcement. We do need a broader plan and more resources. Thank you.
Because there's unfortunately hundreds of homeless throughout the city, laying siege to the city. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn. But first, Councilman Benavides, if you want to make your comments, please.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. So we're adjourning tonight's meeting in memory of Manuel Manny Moreno. Manny was a longtime resident of the city of Santa Ana, and he was a member of New Song Church, formerly First Baptist Church here on 17th Street. Manny was born in Mexico on June 14th, 1948, and passed away on August 12th, 2018. I want to read a couple thoughts, words that his daughter, who's Maggie Moreno, some of us might know her. She's formerly a staffer with when he was on the Senate, Senator Lu Correa, and has done other work in serving our community through Cal Optima and other ways. She credits her father and his influence in her life with making that value of giving back and serving the community. A couple words here shared. God called Manny home after a short battle with cancer on August 12, 2018. For the past 35 years, he'd been working at New Song Church, formerly First Baptist Church of Santa Ana. He faithfully fixed every nook and cranny of this beautiful church he called his first home. His presence was more than life itself, spreading kindness, love, and wisdom to all who met him in the community and afar. And Mr. Moreno, Manny was a longtime resident of the Willard neighborhood as well, and he's a gentleman who passed at the young age of 70. I remember seeing him at church a couple weeks before, and it was very, very fast and aggressive illness that took him rather quickly. And I think about the fact that the city of Santa Ana, we're 50% of our residents were born in another country. We're very 80% Latino city. Manny was one of those one of our greatest imports from Mexico, if you will. A man with a heart of gold and much wisdom. Always very humble and behind the scenes, somebody who served both there at church, served in the community, but always never needing to receive any accolades. Also, later on, I realized just recently, he was also a painter, an artist, and had a lot of other ways that he would share his talents with our community. And again, somebody that was a treasure for our church community, our community here in Santa Ana. And I just want to ask our city clerk if we would send our condolences on behalf of the city to the Moreno family and adjourn in honor of this great man and friend, Manny Moreno. With that, again, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.